Pompeo forms Iran Action Group to run policy after nuke deal. Washington, AP. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on Thursday formed a group to coordinate and run U.S. policy toward Iran as the Trump administration moves ahead with efforts to force changes in the Islamic Republic's behavior after withdrawing from the 2015 Iran nuclear deal, accusing Iran of unleashing a torrent of violence and destabilizing behavior against the United States, our allies, our partners and, indeed, the Iranian people themselves. Pompeo announced the creation of the Iran Action Group, which he said would drive administration policy in Washington and overseas. Ad choice advertising and red invented by Teeds, he said the administration remains willing to talk to Iran but that in order to do so, we must see major changes in the regime's behavior both inside and outside its borders. Advertisement. Pompeo named Brian Hook, who is currently the State Department's Director of Policy Planning, to run the group with the title of Special Representative for Iran. Hook led the administration's ultimately unsuccessful attempt to negotiate changes to the nuclear deal with European allies before President Donald Trump decided in May to pull out of the accord. Since withdrawing, the administration has reimposed sanctions that were eased under the deal and has steadily ramped up pressure on Iran to try to get it to stop what it describes as malign activities in the region. In addition to its nuclear and missile programs, the administration has repeatedly criticized Iran for supporting Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, Lebanon's Hezbollah movement, Shiite rebels in Yemen and anti-Israel groups. It has also in recent weeks stepped up criticism of Iran's human rights record and is working with other nations to curb their imports of Iranian oil. The administration is warning Iran's oil customers that they will face U.S. sanctions in November unless they significantly reduce their imports with an eye on eliminating them entirely. It has also told businesses and governments in Europe that they may also be subject to penalties if they violate, ignore or attempt to subvert the reimposed U.S. sanctions. Advertisement. Hook, accusing Iran of being a force for instability and violence, said he would also kept the door open to talks but made clear that U.S. efforts to isolate Iran both economically and diplomatically would not end until its leadership changed policies. The burden is on the Iranian regime to change its behavior, he said. Critics of the administration's approach suggested that Hook's new position was a sign the U.S. was adopting a policy of regime change in Iran, something that Pompeo and other officials have denied. They maintain they only want to see the government change course. Some critics noted that the creation of the Iran Action Group was announced during the 65th anniversary of the five-day period in 1953 in which former Iranian Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh was overthrown in a U.S. and British-backed coup. Hook said the timing was pure coincidence, and rejected comparisons between the Iran Group and an earlier State Department initiative known as the Future of Iraq Project that was undertaken when U.S. policy was to promote the downfall of former Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein. Hook is expected to be replaced as policy planning chief by Kyron Skinner, a foreign policy academic advisor to several Republican presidential candidates who served on Trump's national security transition team and very briefly at the State Department after Trump took office, according to officials who are not authorized to publicly discuss personnel matters and spoke on condition of anonymity. By Taboola Sponsored links Promoted links You may like Ayana Komodo Resort, only 1-hour flight from Bali. Discover the spectacular Labuan Bajo Ayana Komodo Resort under the new paper. Mathather responds to Joe Low's comments about 1MDB linked yacht. The new paper under the Straits Times. Mathather responds to financiers' accusations. The Straits Times under Babel say hello to the app which gets you speaking a new language in just 3 weeks. Babel and Wa fashionable, sexiest camo wedding dresses fantasy according to Mana fashionable and financial carriers. The group work in this MBA pushes you to build rapport with others who have different skill sets and viewpoints. Financial carrier Sundo.